Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dragon Talk. How is it going? I am Greg Tito, and I am joined, as always, what's your name again?
Shelley.
Shelley. Mazzanoble.
That's right.
You're here.
Yes.
Yay.
I wouldn't miss it. We have a fun day of interviews.
We do have a really fun day of interviews. We're going to be talking to a wonderful author by the name of R.
A.
Salvatore.
Give me an R. No? Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Give me an A.
How's it going?
Hey.
Bobby.
Going well. How you doing? I thought it was Shelley Moo. What's this Shelley Mazzanoble stuff?
I know, right?
You're a Shelley Moo.
My professional name.
But we are talking to the beloved Bob. You've been on like at least 3 or 4 times here on the Dragon Talk podcast. But we have a brand new book out already
book.
for you here called Timeless. Very excited
Just
about
like
that.
you, Bob. Timeless.
You are timeless.
Ageless.
Ageless.
So yeah, what's this book all about? Tell everybody
Well,
here.
don't ask me that.
What's the elevator pitch?
Yeah.
What's this book all about? It's about a dark elf with
What-
2 scimitars, and he's a ranger.
I believe his name is Drizzt. Is that correct?
Drizzt
Dutton.
Drizzt Dutton.
What's it about? All right. I'll give you the long answer because we're live.
Okay.
I had 3 things in mind. First of all, we all thought that the books were over, right? I mean, I did. I was told they were over.
You were getting to an end point, it
Yeah.
felt like.
And yeah, I did that on purpose because it was an endpoint, and I thought the books were done. And then when we found out they didn't necessarily have to be done, and we found a way around it, with amazing. I got to call out Wizards here, as this wouldn't have happened if Wizards, HarperCollins, and me, and I didn't want it to happen, and we did. So we worked hard for months and months and months, crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's to try to find a way to get this done, so everybody's rights, legal situation and everything else would be protected for all of us.
Right.
And we could get it done so that'd be mutually beneficial between all 3 parties.
And it worked.
And it worked. And Wizards was fantastic. And I got to get that out there.
It's all Liz. Liz
Yeah,
Shue. Let's
that's
give a shout out to
probably
Liz.
Absolutely.
And
Liz
Hillary
was
Ross
the
as well.
driving force behind this.
Yeah.
One of several, but Liz was absolutely a driving force behind this. And that made me very happy for 2 reasons. One, I get to keep writing characters I love. And 2, it's because, the people up at Wizards are family to me as much as they're coworkers. I mean, Shelley, how long have we been friends?
Years.
Don't tell everyone. You'll tell everyone how old we are, right?
Just a couple of years.
75 years. I can't believe it, you guys.
Yeah,
We are both ageless.
well, I mean, I've been working with some incarnation of Dungeons and Dragons people since 1987, so it's kind of crazy. But so the 3 things I wanted to accomplish coming back to this. First of all, I've been talking about doing a book about Zach Nafane and Jarlaxle and how they met way back before Drizzt was even born, way back in Menzel Baranzan. So I got to do that. I wanted to continue Hero because the ending of Hero was kind of shocking to a lot of people. And it really was left almost like the ending of The Sopranos, right? Well, what now? What does that mean? Is it real? So I wanted to be able to continue for Hero, and I also wanted to give a reintroduction to Menzel Baranzan for first-time readers, and for people who'd fallen behind on the Drizzt books, because we had done a lot of Drizzt books in a short amount of time. So when you read this book, sections 1 and 3 go back to the Dark Elf City, way back in the past, and you're seeing the city through the eyes of different people. But I want that same feeling that people had when they read Homeland, where you're seeing the city that's wonderfully different and beautiful and dangerous all at once. So it was kind of fun for me to revisit the Dark Elf City like it was the first time for me.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think a lot of people's thoughts about Drizzt were cemented during that Dark Elf trilogy too. That brought that imagery to life.
Oh, you definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So being able to bring that back.
More.
Yeah, exactly. So Jarlaxle, of course, many people know as the. How would you describe him?
He's my walking Deus Ex Machina. No matter what the problem is, Jarlaxle has an answer. It might not be the best answer for anyone around him, but it's always the best answer for himself.
That is pretty cool.
Did you see Chris Perkins as Jarlaxle?
No, I am boycotting Chris Perkins and acquisitions.
It's a boycott. Is it because of PAX East a couple years ago?
Yes, it's absolutely because of PAX East a couple of years ago.
That was my
Chris
fault.
Perkins is out of PAX East, and I get an email the day hi, Bob, I'm playing Dritz in about an hour here at PAX East, and he's 40 minutes from my house. And it's like, hey, Chris, invite me, you jerk.
Oh, I could have had a great cameo.
Plus, he gave Guinevere to Pat Rothfuss, and I still have a...
It's not canon.
That's why they gotta invite you on and get.
I'm only kidding, but I have not seen this Jarl Axel, but I'm sure it's wonderful.
It was pretty
I'll
good.
catch up on it. I've been a little busy the last couple of weeks.
This is true. And Jarl Axel is also one of the villains in our latest adventure for Waterdeep Dragon Heist, which is
not a villain.
He's
Understood
hero.
An antagonist. Would you give me that?
Not even that. He's the protagonist. You're in his story.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah,
Wow.
that is true. That's true.
Wow.
Obviously you want to read Timeless to get any clues to his origin, I guess you could say, because you go back in time to the original in the city.
Oh yeah, I'm way back in time, and Jarl Axel's a kid, not a young kid, but he's a young dark elf trying to make his way in a dangerous city by building this organization. It's fun. It was fun. I had a blast.
It seems fun. Yeah. And Zach Nafane, not everybody knows about him. So, yeah, what can you tell us about him?
Well, I think that if I look back to who I was when I started writing the Dritz books, and I look at who I am today after I've gone through this journey, not just the writing, but the journey of my life, I'm a different person. I think that's true of almost everybody. If it's not, then I think you're doing something wrong. You learn and you evolve as you go through life. And of course, we've seen, like in the fantasy genre, for example, there's been an amazing change in the fantasy genre. When I started out, fantasy was the province of teenage boys, almost exclusively. And now, thankfully, it's not. I mean, I did a signing the other night up at Gibson's, and half the audience were women. And the ages ranged. There were more people over 40 or over 30 than under 25, would be my guess. And I don't think it was even close.
Wow.
And I think that's true of the conventions. That's true of, the genre itself, is that you have such a spread now of such a diversity in the audience. So Dritz has gone through this journey. I've gone through this journey. The audience has gone through this journey. But Zach Nafane hadn't. So anyone who thinks that it's smooth sailing, that Zach Nafane's going to walk in and he's going to be this Dritz clone, and they're going to have similar ideals and similar way of looking at the world and the other races around them, is going to have to see that that's probably not the truth. Because Zach Nafane's, Archie Bunker compared to Dritz in his attitude toward people around him.
It's an interesting comparison.
Right.
So is this a story that you had wanted to tell? Like you had nuggets of it were seeds in other stories of yours, or did it just come up out of the blue?
No, some of the points of Jarl Axel and Zach Nafane, I think I've been thinking about off and on, like how they might have met, what prompted them to meet, and how their relationship went, and how instrumental Jarl Axel was in Zach Nafane becoming, the patron of House Warden and the weapon master of House Warden. I think those things were popping up and bubbling up here and there, questions in my mind. What really surprised me about the book was who Zach Nafane really was, because I didn't expect that. I was another one of those people that when I had to actually look at what would it be like for this guy to show up after all these years, I was surprised by the answer too. But I always am when I'm writing these characters. That's the joy of it for me. They answer questions for me. So that part of the book was completely the who these guys really are and what their relationship really was, is what I wanted to answer when I was writing the book.
But you didn't know the answer when you started writing the book?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all.
It just kind of comes up.
Dritz was the sidekick for Wolfgar. How many times do I have to say this?
I know, I remember.
I had no idea that these characters were going to do it. And Artemis and Trey was supposed to die in Streams of Silver. Then again in Halfling's Gem.
You're like, you can't kill him.
He's unkillable. He's Bruce Willis.
Yeah, exactly.
Steven Seagal. No, Steven
I mean,
Seagal.
I don't know. When I'm writing the books tell me what to write, and I just go with it. I have fun doing that. So why would I stop?
It's similar to, I mean, I think we mentioned this in previous interviews, but it is similar to the idea of like what a dungeon master is doing, in creating a game or a homeworld, right? Like, you don't really know what it's going to be like until the players interact with the story, except you have all the players in your head.
Right.
Yeah, the players in my books are better behaved than the players at my gaming table.
They eat less snacks.
Are you the DM when you play?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Now, I'm about to start a pirate campaign, which should be fun.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love pirates.
Yeah. Well, we might have something coming down the pipe for you in that regard.
A story for you.
Uh-oh.
But only good. I don't know if it's converted for OD&D though, right? That's still what you play. Do you play
don't want me to-
We do. It's okay.
I play Demon Wars.
Yeah, that's right. Demon Wars.
Yeah, we played Demon Wars Reformation, a game I kickstarted about 4 years ago, and we still play that. We just have been enjoying it. We kind of sit in on it, and it's a little different.
How is it different? And it's cool. We can totally talk about it. No worries.
Active defense.
Oh.
Yeah, in Demon Wars, it's the characters synergize. I hate that word, but that's what they do. Where like if you're playing a computer game, you have a tank and DPS and healer, and you have all the different roles that are very clearly defined. Demon Wars has that as well. So if I'm the defensive fighter, you want to stand by me if you're not, because I'll protect you, so you can do your thing. If you're not by me, you're going to have to use the same mana pool, the same balance pool to defend yourself that you would use to give you more attacks or to give you better attacks. So you're going to be much less effective unless you're standing next to a character who can help you with that defensive part. So the game becomes a little more strategic and a little more position oriented. And the other thing is that if you're a good player, you'll really shine in that game. And if you're not, you'll be dead quick.
Well, I don't think I'd last that long.
But you could shine by failure.
I'd go down spectacular.
Yeah. like a supernova. A champagne supernova.
Is this the same group that you've been playing with for a long time?
It's a little different. My son Brian moved to the West Coast, so he's not playing anymore.
Rude.
But Gino's playing. Gino's been playing for about 20 years in the group. No, about 15. One of the players joined in 1989.
1989.
The other one that was part of that group just recently dropped out because his job got too crazy and he just can't find the time anymore. And then the third guy who had been playing since then also moved to the West Coast and is now a big shot over at Blizzard Entertainment. And two of the newer players in the group, my brother's nephew, my brother's son, kind of replaced my brother when he passed away, and he's been playing for 20 years now with us, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the two of the guys were guys I met at 38 Studios, actually.
Oh,
no way.
Yeah.
That's a good group.
Yep.
It's a group that gets into some ruts, and we have to force our way out of it. But when we do, we have a lot of fun.
Sounds awesome. So yeah, Timeless is out as of last week, I believe, right? How have you been? I mean, what was it like at the signing that you were at? Did people seem to enjoy it already?
Yeah. It's the feedback. The anecdotal feedback I'm getting has been great. The excitement levels seem to be pretty high. It's been pretty amazing week, actually. We'll see how it all washes out in the end, but so far so great, as far as I can tell.
Sweet.
That's good.
I've been getting a lot of emails, a lot of PMs from people. You don't know how to gauge it. Even after so many books, you really don't know how to gauge it. You just hope.
Yeah. Put the word out
so
there.
Far, so good, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, from our end too. I keep seeing people excited, poking up on all kinds of social media, feeds, just excited that they get to be in these stories again.
Yeah, I have 400 different Twitter handles, and I use them. No, I'm only kidding.
That's why you've been so busy.
You're activating your bot network.
Yes.
So are there
Some
any
of these
new?
authors on Twitter amaze me. They write a book a day on Twitter.
I know.
They really do.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
And still write.
Don't know.
They really like owls too. A lot of them.
I like owls.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. Yeah,
And burritos.
cats. I
I
see
like
lots
burritos.
of cats.
I have a cat.
You were gonna ask, but you had something.
Yeah. So are there any new characters in this book that we have not met yet?
Yeah.
Anyone bubbling up that you think, oh, this one's got a story to tell. Wait for the next book.
Yeah.
Yeah? Who?
Oh, you want me to expand?
Tell us about them.
Elucidate.
Clearly a yes, no
Evanelle
answer.
is really intriguing me.
Which one? Sorry.
Evanelle is the daughter of Gromp
Hmm.
Banray, who is really almost the reincarnation of Matron Banray.
Mm.
Because in utero, she was invaded by an illithid with the memories of Matron Banray.
What?
Yeah,
That can
it's
happen.
really creepy stuff. But she's actually, the character is very intriguing to me.
Wow.
So she's moving forward, and there's a few others. I have so many old heroes still around and anti-heroes still around. It's hard to add too many at a time because then I have a cast of thousands. And I think what this book's doing better than a lot of the books normally would, because of the way I designed the book, is it's giving a lot of playtime to the companions of the Hall away from Dritz.
Oh.
So we're seeing them shine more on their own, which is where I want to go with things.
The other characters.
Yeah, I want them to have bigger stories and play a bigger role in the books.
How does Dritz feel about that?
He's okay. He has his moments.
He doesn't like a lot of attention.
He's cool with it. He puts on his.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna keep talking about this. I'm gonna spoil a lot if I do.
Oh, you were so close.
You had everybody in the
Right.
chat.
I know. I'm like,
If I turn my computer over here to my desktop, you'll see the scene I'm writing, and that would be really bad.
Ooh, nice.
how far into the next book are you?
About 85% done.
Really?
Really?
Jeez, Bob, you don't stop. So
Lots
if
of
you,
Well, I mean, it's coming out next year. I better get it done.
It's got to
That's
get edited. It's got to get all through that
yeah.
process.
light touch editing.
Is
Bob
that the?
doesn't need a lot of editing.
Have you told anybody the plan that you were going to be coming out with another one so soon?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess I just did, right?
Yeah, I was like,
Breaking news.
you're spoiling stuff for your agent now too.
Yeah, my schedule right now is in January. I have the sequel of Child of a Mad God, Back in My Demon Wars World, coming out.
Awesome.
I don't title yet. We're fighting over it still, but
Oh.
that book has been done for a while. I love it. I mean, that world really surprised me. Some really unexpected things happened, and I always love that in books. And I'm working on the sequel now for Timeless, which will be out next year. And then I have to do the last book in the Coven series, which is Child of a Mad God,
Mm-hmm.
and get that done. And then I have to get the last book in the Timeless series done.
Jeez. So you're
Wow.
writing like 2 books a year?
A little less, but yeah. Yeah, I've been doing that
I know. I don't know how you do this.
Shelley's done 2 books total.
It's been like 10 years.
I've got 0 books.
I'm catching you. I'm catching up.
no, you're actually falling way behind.
Yeah.
Way behind.
It's, I've been writing since I was 29, and I've got over 60 books out, so 2
My
books a
God.
year.
That's a pretty good average.
So would you say, is Timeless a good place for someone to start?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It's a good place for someone to start. It's a good place for someone to pick up again if they've been out of the loop for a while.
Yeah.
And for people who've been wanting the Zach and Fane Jarl Axel story or to see what happened at the end of Hero, here it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it. I did that for, like I said, three different things I had to accomplish.
Yeah. And it's
But yeah,
Stuffy.
absolutely. Start with Timeless.
something for everybody.
Hopefully.
Seriously. So when you go into writing and you don't necessarily know the story, the characters, you don't know or what the character stories are going to be, how do you know when the book is done?
That's actually a really good question. I usually know when it's time to stop and go and start thinking about where all of this will lead to the next book.
Oh.
And then I'll often have to, I wake up in a panic about 2/3 of the way through the book and realize what I need to do to end it on a good note. And by a good note, I mean a note that makes people want to read the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a general idea of where the story is going to wind up. It often surprises me. And sometimes that last month and a half, 2 months of writing can be pretty crazy to get there.
Yeah. Do you have to cut a lot? Are you the kind of writer that
No,
overwrites?
I don't cut much at all.
Wow.
I really don't.
So you're like, you've got it down to it being just like lean, like this is the stuff
I've never cut much at all in my books.
That's great.
I know.
That was always my downfall when I was, puttering as being a writer, was that I would get too much down and be like, oh, this just needs to all be cut.
Yeah, but see, I think that had to do with me coming up through TSR when I did, because the lead time on the books, I mean, I got my first contract on July 11th, 1987, and the book was due October 1st.
Yeah.
And I was working a full-time job with a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a pregnant wife.
Oh. We
So
have
I
no
was
excuses.
And then I remember when they called about the legacy, for example, when I was in the middle of the Clara Quintet, and they called me up and said, we got good news and bad news. It was Mary Kirchhoff. And she said, the good news is Walden Books wants a hardcover, and they want it to be from you, and they want a Dark Elf book. So you're going to have to put the Clara Quintet down for a little bit. And the bad news is I need it in 6 weeks. So, when you get put on deadlines like that, you learn to be efficient. And I actually think that made a difference in my ability to get it done. Plus, the other thing is, I'm very aware of when the editing process becomes 6 of one and half a dozen of another.
Mm.
When you start changing words for the sake of changing words, and you're really still saying the same thing, and it doesn't sound any better. And so I'm willing to let it go, to just say, okay, this is ready, go. I think a lot of writers have a problem with that. They're afraid to let things go.
Yeah, there is that
You're going to be judged.
That inner critic who is always, at least for me, in my own experience, it was always like, oh, this isn't going to work, or I would spend too much time re-editing the same sentence I had just written as it is happening.
It happens all the time to a lot of people I know. It does not happen to me as often, maybe not as often as it should sometimes, but I don't get hung up on things like that.
Yeah.
I have a story I want to tell, and I'm going to tell the story.
And getting words out is probably better than hearing that inner critic and getting no words out.
Right.
Being a professional writer in this market means discipline.
Yeah.
And that means shut up, sit down, and type. And, I don't know about the shut up part. I've never been good at that. But
we did,
you can sit and type.
Anybody who follows you on Twitter knows that.
Oh.
In a good way. I think you're saying
I
think you're saying the right things.
Yep. I'm just glad we agree on things.
That's true.
Because you're afraid of me.
Totally. You're also like way more articulate, so I can just say, yeah, what he said.
What Bob said.
What Bob said.
What Bob said.
Retweet.
Did you see the tweets about Kofifi?
There was so many Fast and Furious that day. I did not check yours out, but now I need to go back and look at them.
That actually sounds like it could be a name of a character in a D&D book.
It's a drow word.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's a drow word meaning affliction. And it refers to the affliction of mirrors.
It is canon.
Look at yourself in mirrors a little too much.
Oh my.
I see.
That's fun.
I see what's going on.
Do you ever take any like real world things and do they ever find their way into your books? Do you ever fictionalize?
I don't write horror. Yeah, of course they do. I mean, I think every writer does, even when they say they don't. Tolkien will insist up and down until the day he died that, The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings weren't analogous to the world around him, and anybody that knows his history knows they were, whether he wanted to admit it or not.
It's impossible to not be. Yeah, right?
Right? I mean, and look, you're a writer for a reason. And that's not to be preachy or anything, but you're trying to write things that are relevant. And there's a lot going on in the world all the time.
Yeah.
So of course that stuff finds its way into my writing. I mean, do you think Dr. Seuss, what do you think he was thinking of when he wrote the Lorax, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the real world is out there. It's where you get your inspiration or your fears or your need to say something. So of course things creep into my books.
Have you
But I
read?
try not to be preachy about it in the books. That's what Twitter's for, right?
Have you read Horton Hears a Who recently?
Exactly.
Because
Yes.
it is very much what's going on in the world right now.
Yes.
Really? I have to read it again.
Yeah, I read it just a couple days ago to my girls because they picked it off the shelf. I hadn't read it in a long time, and I was like, wow, this is pretty much, different sides not hearing each other and not believing facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
How can you not have the world around you influence you?
I don't know. I think it's a missed opportunity if you don't. Especially this world. There's so much fodder.
Exactly. It's so inspirational. Is that the word?
I was kind of chewing on that word when you said it. It's not the word that would come to my mind right now, but again, we're back into the horror category.
Yeah. Are you going to write a horror book next after all of your deadlines that you went through? Maybe.
No, it's funny. I was at a convention a couple of years ago, and somebody said, "Okay, if it was about panel. The panel was about shared worlds and working on somebody else's intellectual property." And they said, if you weren't working, they asked me, if it wasn't going to be Forgotten Realms for you, what other one would you want to work on? And I said, the Americans. And they said, the Americans? Why the Americans? I said, because I just copied the daily stories from the New York Times and the Washington Post and just, kind of verbatim put them in the book.
It's like Law and Order.
There you go. I'm
Ripped from the
done.
headlines.
Easy peasy. Good way to tell a story.
Easy.
Is there any other genre you would be interested in writing?
Yes.
What?
There's a couple of books I've had in mind for a long time, actually. One, it would be I don't want to call it science fiction because there's nothing, it's fiction because I'm making up a story, but there's nothing about any technology that's not already out there to accomplish this thing I would like to do in the book. And it's more of a statement on common sense or reality versus superstition than anything else. I don't want to give too much away because somebody will steal it. There's a book. It would be contemporary, a contemporary novel that's been sitting out there in my head for years and years, and it's still there. And other than that, I don't know. At some point, I'm going to take about a year and just sit back and see if something really weird and wonderful and different and new comes to me wherever it takes me.
That'd be
I don't know.
exciting. Yeah.
There's no other genre I'd probably jump into unless it was
romance.
It's very related, but I would love to write. I wish I
it.
could write books like Bernard Cornwell. The kind of historical novels with a little bit of interpretation and fantasy.
Yeah, that's when you asked that question, I was like, I wonder if that was going to be something because I know you know a lot about history and being able to jump into a period and write about it fictionalized is something that seems similar to fantasy and might be in line with what you want.
It's kind of similar to Shared World in a way.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, my favorite show is Vikings, probably.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Although I don't like the new seasons as much as the first couple seasons of Vikings. Some of the best TV I've ever seen.
The first season was great.
Another show I loved was Rome.
Yeah.
The 2 seasons of Rome, which is wonderful, and Outlander. Going back to the 18th century Scotland was pretty cool. So I like that stuff, and I'm a history buff, and I think is one of the things I tweet about and scream about is we don't know history. People don't have perspective on history. And I think one of the problems that we're having in our society and in our books is that particularly, I think, younger people, and maybe it's the way they're being taught in school, and I have all respect for millennials and Generation Z or whatever the heck they're calling them now. They've changed names too many times for this old brain to process. But I don't think people understand context of the times like they used to. And maybe it's because everything's changing so fast and information is coming at us so fast. I don't think anyone my age grew up being able to process information nearly as quickly as the people who are under 30 today or even under 40 today process information. But I think that what's been lost in the process is the understanding of the times. And it's real easy to stand on a high horse and point 30 years ago when somebody did something, and like you're so far beyond that now, ignoring the evolutionary journey that got the society around you to the point where you can be like that now, if that makes sense. In other words, I was reading a great article about, I don't know, I don't remember who did it, but somebody did an article about the original sin of fantasy is racism. And about racism and sexism and fantasy and how the genre has grown up with it. And it's true. Guilty as charged from someone who was back in the 80s. If you look at who I was in the 80s and you compare it to who I am now, you would see sexism. That was the world around me.
Yeah.
That was the world I grew up with. I grew up in a neighborhood that was incredibly racist. If you ever watched The Sopranos, right? That was my neighborhood. Not the mob stuff and all the shooting people in the street and stuff like that. But that was my neighborhood growing up. And you grow out of that. You grow beyond that if you're a person who is an inquiring person and wants to grow out of that.
Right.
But I think I don't think people realize that there were riots in the city of Boston over busing in the 70s. You know, we're not talking ancient history here.
Right.
Right.
You know, just like I try to explain to people that when I was in college, if you made over $250,000 a year, you were paying taxes at a 72% marginal income rate. This was the late 70s. This isn't ancient history.
Yeah, which is in line with like most industrialized countries as well. You don't want to go too far in the realm of.
I try to keep the context of history.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's not being taught enough.
It's true. It's true. And it's one of those things that I think Dungeons and Dragons does a good job of training young minds to think about, because it's very hard to explain even just mechanics. To be like, oh, what does this class do? And then you're like, well, then you have to explain the magic system, and then you have to explain the combat system. You have to know all of these systems interact and work together. Not to mention all the lore that is, you know, the fake history that is involved with D&D. But like, yeah, you can't just start a conversation and be like, that's that. Like, it all is connected tendril-like into the entire game system. You know, so when young kids get one of, you know, these books in front of them, they're entranced and learn all these systems in a way because it's a game that they wouldn't if they had just been given like a history book, right? Like, you don't get the same excitement, or at least, you know, some don't. I would get excited by seeing a history book, but you know, you don't get that the training on how to use different parts of your brain to judge on whether or not something is good or not.
Absolutely the truth. And I remember a few years ago when it was probably about 10 years ago now, I was talking to someone who was working up at Harvard, and he wanted to do video games like an MMO based in the Civil War to try to teach people what it was like and what was actually going on there.
Yeah.
And that would be fantastic if they did things like that, because when you're excited about something, you'll learn.
Right. You
know, this is why what I found with Dungeons and Dragons in my own family, when I had a nephew who had a bit of a learning disability. He was really smart, but he had a learning disability. So we got him into D&D, and his grades soared because of math. You learn math, You learn cooperation, you learn to read. And, you know, for years I would go to schools and I would talk about, if you're teaching reading to kids, with the first chore is to give them a book they like.
Yeah, find the one they like.
You get a book that connects with you, you will teach yourself to read.
Yeah.
And the teacher's job then is just get the hell out of the way.
Right.
Yeah, we hear that a lot with teachers, librarians. They say, like, they see the benefits of D&D in the classroom because for exactly what you're saying, they read a story, they're playing a wizard, then they become really interested in magic, and then they find books about magic, and then like that leads them down all these different wonderful rabbit holes. And that's something that I always remember when I used to go to your signings. It was like my favorite times ever is watching you sign books for hundreds of people, and you talk to every person.
For it.
It's like every single person feels like they're the only person in the room with Bob. But we heard so many times from these 20-something men, and they would say, "You sparked my love of reading. I read, The Crystal Shard, or I read Homeland or something." And it was from then on, they've just read every single, they got into fantasy, they got into D&D, they became writers themselves. So Good job, Bob. I mean, I think that's one of the highest compliments a writer can get.
My favorite letters begin, "I never read a book until."
Yeah.
Because then I feel like I've done something.
You have.
That makes me feel very good about life.
Yes.
It makes me feel like, I'm leaving the world a little better in my wake. Because if I've sparked someone's love of reading, even if they don't read my books anymore, they've gone on and
triggered it.
Been a lover of reading because of that, or writing, then their lives are a little better than they would be without it.
Yeah, I get so excited when I see a young person with a book. I just really love to see like someone just absorbed in a book. It's just like, good for you.
You're doing
Hold
the
on
right
to
thing.
that. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on to it.
That's one of the only things Quinn's excited about with kindergarten is learning how to read.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
it. Like, that's it.
That's one thing, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if he doesn't actually like get into the class, he's not going to learn that. So we're going to have to work on the drop off.
Sure you don't know about me, Shelley?
What?
My entire year of kindergarten, my mother had to pretend she was hiding out back of the tree in front of the school, or I would not make it.
Really?
You need to do that.
No, he would come out.
Truth.
No, you just let her. No, but your mom actually wasn't behind the tree. She had to tell you that she was so that you would believe it.
I hated it.
What you hated it? Why did you hate it?
I don't know. I was shy, and it was overwhelming.
Oh, okay.
And
so maybe the same. Yeah.
And it was boring. I found it incredibly boring.
Yeah. So you just wanted to hang out with your mom behind the tree?
Wow.
That's a whole different
come on,
story.
We'll go and do fun stuff.
No, I wanted to be home reading my Charlie Brown books.
Yeah.
Oh, so you had a love of reading, though, so that's good.
Oh, I aced. I was reading and writing by the time I got to kindergarten. I had 5 older sisters. I had 6 mothers. Are you kidding?
So they were learning you good.
Yeah, that's where I got the drow idea. Absolutely. No, I hated school. I missed 30, 40 days of school a year regularly.
Wow, even past kindergarten?
To the end of high school.
Wow.
Bob.
Then I got to college and loved it.
Oh, it's good.
Did you ever,
That's my future.
I feel like we asked you this before, but did you ever get a chance to go back to some of your high school teachers and
your
be
English
like,
teachers?
Here's my book. I signed it.
A few years ago, my 2nd grade teacher called me up. Her name was Lucy Scaramuzzi.
Whoa.
Yeah, nice Irish lady.
Yeah.
She called me up and wanted me to come to her house. And I went to see Lucy and Mike. And she just passed away. But I mean, what a woman. She, in her class in the 2nd grade, we would write books, and she would make this paste binding, so you had like a real book that you
that's so cool.
open up, and I wrote a bunch of Snoopy books and dinosaurs.
You really loved Snoopy.
And we got to her house, and she took me up into her attic, and she had every book that every kid from all of her classes had ever written.
Oh my God! Why didn't she give them to the kids?
Mine to give to Fitchburg State University because they have my letters and everything up there. And it was just the sweetest thing. And she said to me, "I can't believe someone from our side of the tracks made it." Referring to the kind of Italian ghetto in Leominster, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What tracks?" I didn't know anything about that. That was what she and my father had gone through, not what I had gone through. But it was, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So And then I've gone back to Fitchburg State. Every 10 years, I wind up back at Fitchburg State College for a reason. It's a Fitchburg State University now, but I graduated in 81. I got my second degree in 91. I was the distinguished alumni in 2001, and I gave the commencement speech in 2011. So I
That's
just
huge.
keep going.
Every 10 years.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So any more kind of passing or last notes about Timeless and why people want to get into it and think like any Easter eggs or things you're excited for people to kind of find out?
Yeah, but other than that, what I really want to say about the book is like with every Dark Elf book, one thing I really try to do with the Dark Elf books is I want you, when you read the Dark Elf book, to feel the way you felt when you read the first one.
Mm.
Because for a lot of people now who've been with me for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years on this journey, it's a really nice thing to be able to just feel like that kid playing D&D in high school again, when you've got, so many responsibilities in the real world closing in. So one of the things I really try to do with the Dark Elf books is I try to leave them as a kind of a portal back in time for people, that I want you to feel that, get that adrenaline rush of the battle scene coming up and feel like you're on the road, the adventure gaming with old friends again. When you read the Dark Elf books, that's what I aim for. That's what I've been trying to do with every book I've written in that series.
Nice.
My primary goal: make people feel like they felt when they were playing D&D with their friends.
Aw.
And it works. It totally works.
Yeah.
Reading through it, it does. It feels like you're not just going back to old characters that you loved back then, but like, yeah, that your style is consistent, and it brings everybody back to that, visceral feeling of what it's like to
The Dark
adventure.
Elf books, it absolutely is, and it's 100% on purpose. I try to stick with the same language.
Yeah.
I try to stick with the same sentence structure, the same, even the books, breaking them up into parts with the essays at the beginning of each part. I try to stick with the same structure throughout the adventures, and I do it on purpose with those. I don't do the same thing with my, even particularly things like sentence structure when I do Demon Wars or themes when I do those. But with the Dritz books, that's what I aim for.
Yeah.
And people like it, and they still read it. And like I said, as long as I have fun doing it, as long as people have fun reading it, why didn't I do it? So I do.
For sure.
Good.
Yeah. It's
And
one
no
of those.
wizard let me do it again. So I am.
And it's one of those, I didn't even really think about it until you just articulated it, but like that's like a thing that writers consider, right? Like filmmakers have, the same music themes and things that, feel similar, which can call back nostalgia. And you're just talking about doing that with the same sentence structure and the format and the essays and stuff. You're right, that people feel safe when they read it that way. They feel like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, at this point in time with the characters, that is one of the most appealing things to continue.
Mm.
Because now, especially with the other characters, where I can spin off and go on new adventures, if I can still maintain that feeling, that sensation, that pizza night with the friends, walking down the road of adventure, then the buddy fantasy feeling, and I'm doing what I want to do. It's very comforting to me. It's like writing a new season for a television show more than writing a new novel.
Yeah, I can see that.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to crack it open and read it myself. I think a lot of people are doing that right now, and thank
As
you,
we speak.
Bob, for continuing writing this story, and we're looking forward to the next 220 of them that you're going to do.
And talking to you.
I was just going to say
Once
two,
a
but
year
I
for
mean,
the
who
next
knows if
20 years.
it'll be two going forward? Yeah, who knows?
Maybe 3.
Well, I'll have to get up there and see you folks so I can get inspired to do the next one.
That's right.
Oh, we're here for you.
Yeah, anytime you're here in Seattle.
The real world would get out of my way. I'd be up there more.
Nice. And thank you. It looks like it's getting dark where you are. We saw the
You've
sun.
got like one side of your
go
face
from-
illuminated.
No, you know what happened is my computer went on screensaver. See?
Oh, there it is. No, but even the room itself
room
got
got
darker on the East Coast there. It feels like we talked to you over sundown.
We
so
talked
that's
to you all night.
all night
Oh my
long.
God, it's like 3 a.m. It's Crazy.
No, it's not. I just looked at the time because you had me almost convinced.
We talked all night long.
All night.
Well, thanks a lot, Bob, for calling in, and
Yeah.
looking forward to chatting more. When books 2, 3 come out from this thing.
Well, you can call me in for a Demon Wars talk.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to play. I want you to teach me.
And we'll be on the same coast then. No,
Yeah.
I mean, when the Child of a Mad God sequel comes out in January, I'll be out in California. So
Nice.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, let's do it.
Face to face.
That'd be perfect.
To face.
face to face.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Good
We'll
luck,
see you
Bob.
later.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Great talking with you.
You too.
Good talking to you. Excellent.
Bye.
All right. Awesome Twitch folks. We are going to take a bit of a break, get some more coffee, get the next author on the line.
So literary
Maybe
today.
maybe we can record our intros
Yeah, we
in
should.
between there, actually,
We should.
if we can, because I think we want to do that because we're going to run out of time. So we will go do that. But thank you, everyone. And we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Bye.
Thanks.